pretty fucking bad drawing, right? Print at some point, that's something that happens. When I say we, I'm talking about my brain and the different voices that are in it. Tiny shitty little screws. Your boy made a little trip to the hospital this week. This is fucking cool right there. But before we get there, I really hope I will not want to shove capacitors under my toenails. Michael Reeves or stuff made here. Yeah, this is not gonna blow your socks off. Don't you read the frustrations in this video, but there is plenty of it. Yeah. I made this, and I'm happy about it. Well, so that your coworkers don't think you are a fucking maniac, having all of your code in a 2,000-line single file, right? You don't want to look like a maniac, do you? And I will not be able to do any jokes with the F word in it. Hello everyone, welcome to the part 6 of me working on a 2D pen plotter robot. To remind you what we are doing, for the past 6 videos, I've been working on this contraption right there. The goal is to create a pen plotter from scratch, working out the mechanical, electrical, and software parts of the project. And related to all of that, make one video every week showing you the progress. And so welcome to part number 6. So what happened this week? Before going into it, a little bit of a disclaimer. Your boy made a little trip to the hospital this week. So yeah, it lasted 3 days. I had a little bit of an emergency procedure on my throat, but before you ask any questions, I am out of danger. It was for sure a little bit of an adventure as well. But yeah, this is just a little bit of a disclaimer that this week things were obviously a tiny bit slower when it comes to progress. But hey, I still have things to show you, and this is not gonna stop me to yap at my camera alone in my apartment, right? And so, this week, apart from that, what happened? I worked on the actual pen holder. So we talked about that last week, but I took obviously a few inspiration from what I found online. And I came out with this design. So this is what we could call maybe like version 1.2 or something like that, because like obviously it needed a few iterations, but I think my idea is working. It obviously didn't work from the first try, because obviously mismeasurements, fucked up print at some point, that's something that happens, miscalculations and on, but mechanically we have a part that I think will work. All right, so for this pen holder, I had a few ideas cooking in the chamber. Last week I already showed you this really fucking bad drawing, right? But this essentially was the idea. Being able to create a sort of bracket around the actual servo motor, and this would be an actual like cylinder to move up and down the pencil. Like this would be attached this way and moving up and down like that. And so after a little bit of refinement, do them lost. Where is it? Oh, there you go. Boom. After a little bit of refinement, this is what we came up with. When I say we, I'm talking about my brain and the different voices that are in it. The most shitty part was the pen collet. Essentially the thing that is going to like go around the pencil and grab it like that. My hand is obviously not as big as the pen collet itself, but this is an idea for you to understand. This would grab it and you have like an interaction with the servo motor that would make this go up and down. We obviously went through a couple of iterations, but we finally made it with this chunker right there. And when it comes to the bracket, the thing that the servo motor would be attached to, this was the V1, but we had a couple of issues. This was too far, the holes were not big enough for the actual pens itself, and it was overall just very janky looking. When it comes to the holes though, these ones, this is just me thinking about the future, and those are M3 screws attachment points that would later allow us to fix it to the robot. I think this part right there, the end effector joint, top joint to be exact, I will need to do some modifications so that I can actually like stick this up to it. But again, this is an issue for another time. For now though, this is what we have. Maybe I can zoom in a little bit. Is that a bad idea? Oh, that's the maximum I can do. All right, fuck it. But yeah, this is what we have. This is the servo motor right there with the servo bracket V2. This is held by those tiny shitty little screws that actually are threaded into the 3D printed part. Maybe this is not the best idea, but honestly, it works. And this is solid. And so let's assemble it together. I made it so that also my dimensions were made around this pen right there. This is your usual office bic. And so if I made everything correctly, this should be able to slide right there. I'm trying my best to also show everything to the camera. Boom, this should slide here. There you go. And this part should move up and down, allowing the pen to move in a linear fashion. So if I give my board some juice that I already burnt with the servo firmware, would you look at that? That's a lot of explanations for a bunch of nothing, right? But man, am I happy with this. This is fucking cool right there. So yeah, if you are used to watch some Michael Reeves or stuff made here, yeah, this is not gonna blow your socks off, for sure. But me, I fucking made this, and I'm happy about it. So yeah, I don't think it looks too janky when it comes to the interaction. So like, yeah, as you can see, like there is a slot right there that allows the servo motor to go in and transform this rotation into linear motion. But honestly, I think I'm pretty happy with this. So yeah, now we have an actuator that can take the pen on and off the paper. And that's what we want. So yeah, oh my God, this desk, Jesus Christ. Hey mom, sorry. Dude, I really need to clean all of this up. But yeah, that's it. And again, with those entry attachment points, we will be able I think and hope on the next update to fix this to the actual robot itself. And I think this should be enough. And again, the material looks super janky around the edges because like it required some support material to have it. But apart from that, I think we have a working prototype right there for a pen holder. But yeah, that's it. Hell yeah. So yeah, mechanically speaking, that is it for this week. So I obviously also made some progress when it comes to the electrical part of things because, as I mentioned, this uses a servo motor and it doesn't work by itself, right? I need to plug in the right GPIO pins on my board, make a few tests or whatever, but this is literally 3 cables. I'm not going to give you an entire chapter to talk about 3 different cables. I could to maybe drag the video along, but like, come on, you're just going to click off and that's it. I would just lose in this kind of situation. I think that would make sense. So next, let's talk about software a little bit. Last week, I told you about a bunch of things I wanted to do, specifically with Python, but that didn't happen this week. Instead, I looked into interrupts and timers. To remind you what we talked about last week, again, you can just go watch the video. Also, I would like that, obviously. We have a little bit of a delay issue between the Python API and the actual code that lives on the ESP32 board. For the moment, the way I do it is that I send my instructions line by line to the Arduino, read them, and then resend something that says like, hey, I am ready for the next line. But would like to send actual chunkable data and maybe keep everything in a buffer so that we can read it as the code goes along and something like that. So I asked around and educated myself a little bit, and apparently I need to know how interrupts work. So this is something I saw in college, so it does go back a little bit in time, but this should be something that I need to look into to understand how that works in general. So that was just a little bit of reading. I don't know enough right now to give you a little bit of a look around how those work, but I hope by next update we should understand that and maybe implement that chunkable data idea. Also, thank you very much for the people who did it. I had a bunch of comments giving me some advice on how to do this. By the way, if you would like to comment on this video, I read literally everything that goes below my videos. Everything. Right? So yeah, that's it for the educational part, self-education if I could call it that. But code-wise, since I am using platform.io, I wanted to educate myself a little bit more on how to structure my code a little bit better. Coming from the software engineering side of things, more specifically the web, working with multiple frameworks, you learn pretty quickly how to section your code so that it is actually readable. Well, like so that your coworkers don't think you are a fucking maniac, having all of your code in a 2,000 line single file. Right? You don't want to look like a maniac, do you? But yeah, that was mainly that. Learning a little bit more about the tools that I am using and the usage of headers in C++. Along with this, since I am now using a servo motor, I just played around a little bit with it. The demo that you saw a few seconds before, this is the code that is running right now on the ESP32. So as you can see, nothing really too fancy. It's just like to make things move and actually show you how that works, but still learned a little bit, which is always nice. Also, I think I'm going to stop going into details when it comes to software, because this is literally just the lines of code written on my PC. And I think that loads of you guys actually click off at that point. So yeah, it's just going to be very up level and show you around what's happening. Up level? Higher level. Yeah, up level, what I'm saying. Some other news for you. Some people might not know, but I live here in Budapest and I am actually French. I am from France, a little town on the east, right next to Switzerland. And as you know, Christmas is coming. And most of my tools that I use for hardware projects is here in my glorious apartment. And I obviously will not bring everything back with me at home. So I think the next couple of videos, they are going to be about something else. Like I could do only software things, and I will do actually that when I will be back in my hometown, but I will not give you updates on a bunch of lines written on my screen, right? There will be nothing really visual, and I will not be able to do any jokes with the F word in it. So, starting this video, this project is gonna be on pause. But I am obviously working on other things right now that I can show you that are pretty interesting, by the way. So you should still consider subscribing. That sounds like a cry for help. Jesus Christ. No, right. So yeah, that's it for this video. New pen holder, new things when it comes to the software. For the next update, I would like to work on a few things. Since we have this new pen holder with attachments, we will need to rework the mathematics. Because from what I showed you on the last video, the math that I am applying right now would be so that the pen would be at the center of this end effector right there. And this will not be the case. There will be a little bit of an offset right there. So we need to do a little bit more math research, a little bit more scribbling to understand what the hell I'm doing. So since that will be reworked, I would also love to have my XY to motor angle positioning function in Python. That would be great. Also, in my last video, one of you talked about Bezier curves instead of X and Y positions. Like instead of sending lines of X, Y, and Z positions to my bot, I actually sent Bezier functions so that I can actually like send curves instead of like Cartesian points. That's a wonderful idea. It's great. And I would do that. But this project is already taking me a lot of time. I am learning a lot of stuff. So I think this would be for later if I want to continue that project. But before we get there, I really hope I will not want to shove capacitors under my toenails. I don't show you the frustrations in this video, but there is plenty of it. Yeah. By the way, those suggestions, keep them coming. It's just like, it allows us to talk and also for you guys to interact with one another. And also it makes me think. For example, this Bezier curve thingy, I made a couple of research of how to do that at some point. Apart from the jokes, this is genuinely interesting. So for the people who interact with this content, thank you very much. Alright, I think that's it. Thanks a lot for sticking around until the end. And I see you guys very soon on the internet. Bye bye everyone.